It is yet another end of season NBA slate, at least for today, though. Not the quite length of injuries we had yesterday, where there was just a million players get rolled out. And then even after the fact, Trey Mann gets rolled out in that island game. Another island game today, one that probably won't have quite as much fantasy value, at least on one side, the Clippers, because Paul George, while possibly being back, they've been limiting the minutes to everybody, and Paul George likely going to have a minutes restriction if he comes back. But still, like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If anything changes at all, leave us a question in the comment section below. And actually, I want to start by asking you about that Utah Clippers game, not because of the Paul George situation. I don't really think there's too much we could talk about there, but Rudy Gobert is questionable. And kind of 2 points here. Number one, who benefits if Rudy Gobert is out? And then number two, how are you going to handle that situation considering it starts 2.5 hours later than any other game on the slate?
Yeah, so as far as who benefits if Gobert is out, it's kind of difficult because we're also still waiting on the Bojan Bogdanovic news and the Daniel House news. Last game with all of those guys out, you got Eric Pascal starting, playing like 26 minutes. Gay played around 23 or 24 minutes. Hernan Gomez played, I think, 28 minutes. But if you add any of Bogdanovic or House, that rotation gets messier as well, especially if it's Bogdanovic. But even if it's House, is he ahead of Hernan Gomez? Is he ahead of Pascal in the rotation? I don't really know. I think the starting lineup will give us some information there. But like you said, this game is also 2.5 hours after the next to last game tips off. So I think it's really difficult to deal with. Also, Gobert, if he plays, is one of the best center plays on the slate. He's only $7,300 on DraftKings. He looks phenomenal. So I think what's probably going to end up happening for me is that I'm going to end up with a good amount of Gobert if he is questionable. And then if he gets ruled out, I'll do my best to swap around him, but it sucks too because like the Clippers don't really have any good plays. Utah does, but they're not phenomenal. So I think it's a really tricky spot to handle.
Yeah, hopefully we get news ahead of time, but considering the start time of the game, it just doesn't seem that likely. Like we said, there's a 2.5 hour gap. So, stay tuned, check out the rest of our content today. Hopefully we get more news on this situation a little bit later. Next one, Zach LaVine is questionable, tail end of a back-to-back. Kind of implies to me he's more likely to sit than play. The Bulls have really struggled, particularly against better teams this season. If LaVine does not end up playing, what does it do for the usage for the other Chicago starters?
Yeah, I mean, it should just bump up production for DeRozan and Vooch in particular. They're already really cheap, but they'll look even better if LaVine is out. And then I think you get more playing time for Kobe White at 4,900, potentially a little bit more production for guys like Caruso and Sunmu as well. But I think the top beneficiaries are the guys that already look pretty good in DeRozan and Vooch.
Now the biggest name on the injury report, the last situation we really have to talk about for now. Once again, guys, if anything changes, leave a question in the comment section below. LeBron James apparently rolled his ankle pretty bad last game. He's listed as doubtful. Anthony Davis is nearing a return, but he's doubtful. As a result, just some other thing that I thought was kind of interesting. The Spurs are now betting favorites to end up in the play-in game ahead of the Lakers. So we talked a long time about will the Lakers make it to the playoffs or not. Now they might not even make it to the play-in game. But for today, no LeBron, AD not ready yet in all likelihood. Who benefits the most from the Lakers that we want to get to?
So I think it's pretty much just most, their main rotation guys. The question is more like, how do they benefit enough to really be priorities? Because Russell Westbrook certainly benefits from LeBron and Davis being out, but I still don't think he really stands out as a true priority here. Is he more playable without LeBron than he would be with him? Of course, but you're still talking about somebody that averages around 1.3 DraftKings points per minute without Davis or LeBron on the floor in a relatively unappealing matchup against Dallas. I don't think he looks drastically different than somebody like Donovan Mitchell at that price point or Cade Cunningham at that price point. There's a very high ceiling. He's a perfectly fine play, but I don't think he faults into being any sort of priority. And then similarly, guys like Stanley Johnson at 3,300 should play a bunch of minutes. Isn't a very good point per minute guy, but he's really cheap. Dwight Howard's been playing a lot. He can certainly do some damage against this Dallas front court if he plays a lot of minutes. Alternatively, you could see, Maxi Kleber playing center for Dallas and the Lakers going with Carmelo Anthony for more minutes instead of Howard. Anthony at 4,600 himself looks like a decent value, as does Wenyen Gabriel. But I think basically what it does is normally when we talk about the Lakers, it's like you play LeBron or you don't play anybody. Here, I think it's more so there's not one guy that you point to and say, oh, you play him. But I think you can say that all of Westbrook, Melo, Monk, Gabriel, Howard, Johnson, all look better.
Yeah, and once again, there's still a lot of uncertainty on the slate, particularly with the Rudy Gobert news. And then also just this time of year, so many players get added, taken off the injury report as we go on later in the day. If anything changes, leave us a question in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, the injury report is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you're signing up for Prize Picks for the first time, Use the promo code Awesemo, get yourself up to $100 bonus on your first deposit and 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Good luck.